Hey guys, welcome back to Gunshots. This week I thought I'd do the first in what I hope to be a little series of videos about accessories. I've done a lot of gun reviews over the last 18 months and I thought it was time to maybe take a bit of a pause from that and do this mini-series. The idea being I want to take you through what I generally carry around in my kit bag, which is kind of what I would sort of consider the essentials of clay shooting. What do you need as a newbie coming to the sport? Or even an experienced shooter. You maybe have a look at some of the stuff that I carry and it might give you a bit of insight into some other options out there around the accessories that you can use. The first and the most important one that I wanted to talk about, I think, is a thing everybody should have all the time. I even carry spares, and that's hearing protection. There are many different types that you can carry and indeed use, and all have different sort of pros and cons. They all offer roughly the same amount of protection. A gunshot is about 140 to 160 decibels, and that's more than loud enough to cause instant hearing damage every time you pull the trigger. It causes acoustic trauma. If you're not wearing hearing protection, you'll notice that you'll get tinnitus straight away, and it will damage your hearing permanently every time you pull the trigger. It's important, therefore, that you have some form of hearing protection and that you use it all the time. So the types of hearing protection that you can get your hands on are broadly sort of broken down into two different types, which are in-ear and over-ear. The most common one being, of course, the 3M Classic. These are pretty much given away free everywhere I've been shooting, and there's no excuse for not wearing them. They have a little pictogram on the back that shows you how to fit them, but it occurred to me that since I see them so wrongly fitted most of the time, I thought it'd be useful to actually show you how to properly put one in. Take your ear defender and squish it, roll it up into a little sausage. Alright, give it a good squeeze, roll it up, take your off hand, pull your ear up and to the rear to straighten out your ear canal, and then stick the sausage into your ear canal so that it's sort of here. You see that little sort of, it's actually fully inserted and no longer sticking out. It will then expand out if you let it do its thing over about 10 seconds, and you will find it actually fills the void and gets a proper seal in your ear. These things offer around about the same as most of the hearing protection we're going to look at today, which is 35 dBA, 35 decibels of attenuation, dropping you down from the harmful 160 decibels to something that you can handle in pulses. Once that's now expanded, that's now fine, and I can then do the other side. These are the 3M ones. They're dead cheap. I've also got some of these, which are Napier comfy plugs, which are tapered and have a sort of a glossy coating on them, and they are definitely a little bit softer and probably a little bit more comfortable in your ear. Each of the types has their own sort of pros and cons, and the thing about these plugs, and indeed these, or any of the passive, just straight damping protection methods that you can use, have the same problem, and that's isolation. Once they're in, everything is damped down to a level, the same level, regardless of what its original volume is. So you have difficulty hearing speech, you have difficulty hearing the trap going off, and if you're shooting game, you can't hear birds or beaters. And as a result, I think that's one of the things that causes people to not wear these, because they don't like being isolated. And that's where the slightly more expensive options come in. This is something that sort of sits in between the really cheap foam plugs and the more expensive electronic ones. And these are a reusable sort of Christmas tree little fella with a valve in it. And that valve system basically blocks out the higher levels of sound above a certain decibel level with a pulse, and allows through normal levels of speech. Speech is around about 60 to 70 decibels. So these little Christmas tree things, what are they? Oritech, and they give same amount of protection. You do have to keep them clean because the little plastic cups do tend to accrue kind of earwax at your ears. And insertion is more or less the same. Reach around, pull the ear up, and then insert firmly into the ear canal so that you get a good seal, and you're protected. It's that simple. And then popping them out, just as easy. So these retail normally, I think, around about 15-20 quid. I think I've seen them for around about that. And they're a great sort of intermediate level protection if you don't want to be completely isolated out. Next up, I guess, we switch to over-ear. And the over-ear forms are the same, either muffs, they can be hinged or braced either at the top or at the back. I've seen some. And They all work the same way. These are actually active muffs. These are Peltor Sport Tac, but just because I don't have any passive muffs, but they work the same way. You put them on and you're protected. They're dead easy and convenient because you can stick them on and take them off very quickly. You can lift one ear if you want to just have a quick chat with somebody, put it back down again. But they do offer a sort of a more isolating experience with it being the same amount of attenuation. These being an active muff, however, they have an amplifier. If I turn them on, now everything around me is amplified and I've just gained super hearing. The sound quality from these is absolutely fantastic. I find that it's a really natural sounding noise. The mics have a wind stop over them so you don't get any wind noise. They're just brilliant for all round being able to hear. But the amplifier systems are very, very clever. So actually working as a passive muff, 35 decibels of protection, but then you've got these microphones picking up ambient noise. Any sound that they detect that's above a damaging level, they cut out. So basically if I do this, I momentarily go deaf. I can hear it in this ear, but not that one because it's far enough away that pulse of damaging noise is actually being stopped by the circuit in there. And as such, these are fantastic. Muffs tend to suffer from the same problem, however, whether they're active or passive. The problem with muffs is that you will tend to self-defeat. The instant you stick a set of specs on, whether they're prescription specs like I wear normally, or shooting specs, you've essentially breached the cup. And if once you've breached the seal around your ear, sound's leaking in, and the sound leaking in is damaging. The same can be said, and the reason I don't wear these for shooting most of the time is because, for whatever reason, shit in my head, when I mount the gun, the tendency is for the stock to just clip the bottom of this cup and lift it up. Now that's annoying because I get that knocking sound every time I mount my gun, but it's also dangerous because every time it's lifting the cup away from my ear, and every time it lifts the cup away from my ear, that ear's getting sound and it's getting damaged. Now, whilst I do think this is probably the best sound quality you can get from an active protection method, they're not the ones that I wear all the time. This brings us to the final and probably most expensive variant of hearing protection that you can pick up, which are of course the molded plugs. Now, these are Sense ProFlex. I've actually got the digital inserts for them, but when I originally bought these, they were bought as passive. So the passive inserts basically do the exact same job as these, but provide this really, really customized seal. The seal is absolutely perfect because it's molded to your ear. I tend to insert them much the same way, and then get that right seated in deep into the ear canal, and then properly filling out all of the sort of crevices in my ear. And it means that I am really, really well protected. There is no chance of anything getting through there. And of course these have an active insert, which I can turn on, and then I get amplification. So essentially these are just a hearing aid inserted into a custom molded plug. You can get just completely dumb plugs. You can get these made with no insert at all, so they just literally fill your ear and do the same job as one of these. Or with, as I said, the passive ones with a valve in, or these fully active ones. Now, the price range is massive. I think a basic set of these with no inserts is around about 80 to 90 pounds. A basic set with the passive inserts is around about 100 to 120. And then once you start going for the ProFlex Digital, the price climbs quite significantly into sort of 300, 400, 500 pounds. I will say the sound quality and amplification from these is not a patch on the quality you get from these. These have a really, really natural sounding amplified sound. You get good bass notes through it. It's actually like just having amplified hearing. These, on the other hand, I find quite tinny, and I definitely notice a little bit of wind noise. It's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. You'll notice that these have got the wide battery tray on, which basically puts a bit of a barrier around the microphone, and you can get a foam outer that goes over the top of your ear, but you look like a total nana, so I don't tend to wear those. But this bigger battery tray definitely has helped. Paul Lincoln from Plugs helped me out by getting these for me, and absolutely made a huge difference. The amount of wind noise I get now is absolutely minimal compared to what I used to get with them. But like I said, it is all about really what you are comfortable with. Now, for me, the best form of hearing protection is the type that you will wear every time you get your gun out. Now, if that means that it's a set of these, or then fine, and they're pennies or free, fantastic. If it means that it's a set of these that have cost you an absolute bombshell, but you'll wear them, then again, that's what's important. The amplification in this type and this type of hearing protection is key, because it means that you're not isolated. You can hear what's going on. You can hear the trap going off, so you know where birds are coming from. You can hear birds flapping around. And it, to me, means it's a hearing protection that you will consistently wear, rather than something that you'll constantly wind up taking out of your ear because you can't hear, and then you end up you stood behind somebody trying to have a conversation, you pop it out and then somebody starts shooting, and all of a sudden you're getting flashed, and it's instantly damaging to your hearing. In summary, these are what I wear all the time when I'm shooting, and these are what I wear when I'm either game shooting, or if I'm coaching, or if I'm just messing about or helping out, or if I'm filming. I'll tend to wear these because the hearing protection is just as good, and the amplification, as I said, is much better. Guys, hopefully this has been useful for you. I hope to do another special on eye protection, and then I think what I'm going to do is a little bit of a kit bag roundup of the various other accoutrements that I carry, stuff like gun slips, towels, the various other sort of bits and bobs that I tend to sort of hook around with me when I'm shooting, that make things easier, that allow me to have what I need at hand. So thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoy it. Take a look at the rest of my videos. Do take a look at my Patreon page. I do post updates on there, and of course, if you can afford it, I'd be really, really grateful if you could support the channel. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.